of episode 4 of Lovecraft Country. Is it History of Violence is what it was called? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to hand it over to you, V, to do the recap.
Right, recap real quick. So episode 4. So we have now figured out that there is some information that Montrose has that was given, a book that was given to him from Uncle George. He reads the book and commits it to memory, and then we see him destroy the book, and I guess he just figures it's safer for his son Atticus if this book just doesn't exist. Even though he had a chance to read it, he tries to remember it, and it sets off with let's see who, Letty, Atticus, and Montrose the father going on a trip to Boston, and then they decide to take Hippolyta, I think her name, I don't know if her name was pronounced like that, Hippolyta, something like that. So they take her and her daughter, and they're traveling to Boston. So they find out there's some information in a museum in Boston that they might need, and this is where they think the Titus, the information that Titus had on this translation, again, to get into this, to open this portal, is somewhere in this museum. Mm-hmm. So they end up at the museum, and then they go on this adventure that takes them on what looks like a night at the museum type of adventure, and kind of explores, I think what they're trying to do is kind of like a hollow earth theory going on in this episode, where they're below the earth and there seems to be tunnels that kind of lead into other locations that would take you a long time to get to, but in this case you get there quicker under the ground, like this hollow earth where you move through time differently. But this is the thing where I had an issue with the episode, because I think some things move slow and other things move too fast at times. I didn't know how Letty figured that the guy, they found a floating body in the water, and she immediately says that that's her neighbor, and it's just like, how what would make you determine that's your neighbor when you're thousands of miles away from where you live? They didn't really have her examine him really well to come to that realization, like, wait a minute, I know this guy, I've seen him before. It was like she quickly looks at him and she goes, hey, that's my neighbor, and I'm like, why would you immediately determine that's your neighbor when you're nowhere near your house?
Didn't even second guess.
Didn't second guess it. Didn't have her like really explore like if he really was or not. So before even that though, it's another thing that kind of irked me was when they get to, they're under the ground. They find the passageway to get down into the bottom of the museum where they think that Titus's translation of the Book of Adam, or what the language of Adam is, and they are going across like this little plank. It's a narrow, dangerous plank, right? And they're on this plank, and then there's booby traps, of course. So they have like this swinging pendulum type of axe thing that they have to try to cross. Then the next thing you know, they're all on the plank. The plank is starting to disappear. They make it all the way across, and then there's this door there that has a combination. This is the issue I have with it. We never see what's on this door. We don't see what combination they're looking at. We didn't know. We never saw anything in the book that Montrose was reading earlier that would indicate that he saw something in this book that would help him with this combination. And to me, I'm like, I think there's certain instances in the show where they should show you what it is the people in the show are seeing that are helping them along with these
that
clues
we're not
seeing, so that we can actually be in on it as well. So they open this door that we never get a chance to see. And then that's when they're in the tunnel with the water, and that's when Letty, like I said, discovers that floating body. It's from one of her neighbors. Which, I mean, I understood why they had to put it there, so that you understand that the tunnel underneath her house also leads to this tunnel in Boston. But I just think they could have maybe not made her realize that so quickly. And then she realizes that the elevator that they see goes up to her house. Yeah. I'm like, how are you?
But how quick did she, like, she realized it so quick.
So we get that. Weird. So then we get to another door, and again, I don't know how Atticus discovers that his arm, like sticking his arm into that hole is what's going to open the door. But I do believe he thought it was the ring on his finger from the remember the ring that he got from Christina.
Yep.
I think he thought that's what was going to open it, but it actually took his blood. Like the door cut him, and it was his blood that actually opened the door, of course, because he's a descendant of Titus. So in this room, we then discover that Titus has actually committed, like, it looks like murders. Like, there's a bunch of bodies in this room of people. It looks like he might have had captive, not really murder, but like maybe kept them locked up until they died, because the bodies look like they're kind of frozen in time a little bit. And then that's when we see this character called, how do you say her name again?
Yahima.
Yahima, I think it's pronounced. Yeah, Yahima. And what she looks like is maybe Indian Aztec, maybe way back in the day. And she was taken by Titus to translate these ancient symbols that he needed. And then when she discovered that, I guess, that he was evil, she decided not to help him. Now, I don't know if it's really a she, because she seems to be intersexual a little bit. So, because when they show her body, she does appear to have both
body parts.
Both body parts. So, another pet peeve. So anyways, I'll get to that. What irks me about this character here is that, okay, they're running out, they get away, and they get back to the elevator. Again, something about Montrose, that he's the one that had the translation, the scribe, and he loses it in the water and lets it go. Yeah, just lets it go. And I think he did it on purpose. So then we get Letty, who goes and swims after it. She gets it, they get it, they're back up the elevator, and the next thing you know, they're back in Letty's house. So that elevator took them back up to Letty's house. And then we see Yahima, and we realize that she can't really speak. So Atticus says something about teaching her how to speak English, and then they'll get information from her, on and on, you know. And the next thing we know, and this is what pissed me off.
I did not like this part.
Montrose slits her throat. And I'm like...
10 minutes. She's only been there for 10 minutes. She's only
on the show for a brief second. And it's like she could have been such an important character.
And she is. It's just...
seemed really interesting. And then it's like she's on there, and the next thing, you slit her throat, she's dead.
She's gone.
Unless there's some kind of way that she comes back and she's not really dead or something like that, because I don't know if she has power to regenerate or whatever, but for now it appears that she's dead. And I'm like, on, off, gone. So prior to this too, we also see that William, who is he really a butler, or is he appeared to be a butler in the mansion, but
he did.
I think there's a lot more to him than that.
I think he's related somehow to Christine, like
yeah,
somehow.
So we figure out earlier in the episode that, first of all, Christina, her and the sheriff know each other. He doesn't want her in their town, so she's in town. He figures out that she's in town, so he has his cops following her. So then that's when we find out that William has hands.
Yes. Yes.
William comes out and pretty much beats the cops up and lets them know that Christina does not like people following her. And the next thing we know, William's in a bar, and he's I guess we don't see him right away, but it cuts to Ruby singing in this bar, and then we see William down at the other end of the bar, and he buys Ruby a drink. So they have this whole exchange about what irks her, about, you know, the racism she has to face, and blah blah blah. William's trying to shoot a shot, which we all already know is for, I'm sure, nefarious reasons, probably to try to get in the house or something.
Yes.
But anyway, she swears up and down she's not gonna sleep with him, and the next thing you know, boom, they're having their little relations over here, and they're definitely gonna manipulate.
Oh, for sure.
They're gonna manipulate her mind because they want something out of the house, and yeah. So anyways, so we see that happen with her. So it'll be interesting to see what they try to get out of Ruby using William to get it. So, but that was pretty much it. So like I said, my issues with it are that Yahima, I wish she would have been on the episode longer. And I wish they would let the audience in on the things that they are looking at with these clues, because sometimes it's kind of confusing. Yeah. Trying to figure out what they're looking at and how they're figuring out things in the show that they're not showing us. Yeah. Right. So that was the recap. What was your...
My biggest thing too was with Yahima. Like, she was a key character. 10 minutes, she's gone. Right. And I'm starting to pick up on the fact that, and maybe I should have picked up on this a while ago, Montrose, he's a little shady.
Yeah, he is.
There's a little shadiness. Now, I don't know if he's looking out for his son and trying to do what's best for him, or if he has hidden intentions. Right. But, I mean, I still like the show.
I think Montrose actually has some psychological issues going on too. Because,
I think so too.
In the scene when after he reads the book that George gave him and he kind of destroys it, he's hearing like voices in his head of like abuse, and I think it's abuse that he went through, but then that he also did to his son, Atticus. Like I think like it's. And it probably plays on the two, like, the history of abuse that slaves went through, and then they kind of carried that down through the line, because that's what he was kind of thinking of. So I don't know if Montrose is necessarily evil, or if he's just got some issues going on, and
mental,
he thinks that he's helping his son Atticus by doing what he's doing.
When he's really not. But maybe. I mean, who knows? Maybe he is. But that was my biggest issue, was that Yahima had... I wanted to get to know that character more.
Right. And she was interesting.
Yeah, she was. She really was. And did you notice the squeaking sound she makes?
Oh, that high pitched.
It was that same. Isn't that the same sound that makes the monster?
Well, that's actually a whistle they're blowing.
That's
but
true.
I mean, I don't know if that whistle sound could have, if in the past she was able to control them and then they replicated her pitch maybe into the whistle. I'm not sure, but I did hear that because he had to knock her out to stop her from doing it.
And I wanted to. There's just a lot about her that I think it was just missed that we didn't get to know her. But I also want to know why Montrose killed her. Right. And then it still keeps you, the show still keeps you guessing. So, I mean, yes, there's those, like, parts where you wish they would let you in. And I hope, but it also keeps you.
Yeah, and I actually, too, in my opinion, I think the females on this show are really interesting because we do know now that Ruby is Letty's half-sister. So I'm very interested to know who her parents are. Like who her father might be. And then also Hippolyta, however you say her name. This character, too, something about her is very interesting. So I can't wait until they kind of show what's interesting about her. And then, like I said, and then what part Ruby's going to play. Like, if she will be easily manipulated by William, or if she'll be like this character that can see through it. And
she seems to have a little, I don't want to say jealousy towards Letty, but she has a little, she feels some type of way about Letty. So, and I think Christina and William saw that as a way
to get in.
So we'll see what role she plays.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so short and sweet. We don't want to make these too long. So just our recap of A History of Violence. Let us know what you think. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
And follow us on our Instagram, Virgo Besties.
All right, guys.
See you later.
Bye.